In this movie, an American student went to Paris. There he became friends with a strange twin brother and sister. But the relationship between these two brothers and sisters is so strange. What happens next, we will explain the rest in this video. There are some movies where the outside environment affects the inner characters, and this movie is just like that. The external environment represents their inner character and mindset. In the end, I will explain this to you. Let's get straight into the explanation. Welcome back to Movie On. Today I'm going to explain the movie called The Dreamers from 2003. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care, and I hope you enjoy it. At the beginning of this movie, we saw a guy named Matthew, and he is the main character of this movie. Matthew is the narrator of the movie. He went to Paris to complete his studies. Matthew loves movies. He has watched so many movies, and he knows everything about movies. He met twins named Isabelle and Theo because of his interest in movies. There were no restrictions about screening. That's why everyone was outside watching the shoot. Matthew also came here. Isabelle was standing in front of the gate. When Matthew went there, Isabelle talked to him. She told him that, "I always see you around, but you're always alone." Matthew told her that he came from America, and that's why he has no friends. Isabelle introduced Matthew to her brother, Theo. After that, they talked about movies, and their bond got stronger. After some time, the police came there, and they ran away. They talked about different things till late at night. While walking on the roads of Paris, Matthew thought that he was so lucky that he has got two good friends. When Matthew went home, he wrote a letter to his mom. He's so happy that he has made friends here. When he woke up in the morning, he received a call from Theo. Theo invited him over to his house to have dinner with him. Matthew went to their house in the evening, and their house was so big. Isabelle took Matthew to her mom to introduce him. Her mother didn't expect that Matthew was coming over for dinner, but still, she managed it. Isabelle told him to meet her father and maintain a nice impression. Isabelle's father was a poet, and then when they were on the dinner table, Theo's father talked about the inspiration of the poem. But Matthew was not paying attention to his words, and that's why he got mad at him and asked him, "What are you thinking about?" Matthew didn't say anything at first, but then he forced him. Matthew told him that, "I was looking at this lighter. There is actually symmetry between this lighter and our surroundings. This lighter has beautiful harmony in it, just like the welcome music." When Theo's father heard it, he was impressed by him. Theo's father told him that, in your generation, you have some people who think like him in a constructive way. Theo's political opinion was very strong, and he always thinks that everyone is wrong. That's why his father mocked him, and they argued. Actually, Isabelle's father and mother do not stay here. Since he is a poet, they keep visiting here and there. Theo and Isabelle stay alone in this house. At night, their father signed a check for them and left. After their parents left, Matthew stayed. Isabelle kissed him and asked, "Are you staying here?" And Matthew decided to stay. When Theo and Matthew were talking to each other, we saw that they always have a conflict between them. They do have conflict in their opinion, but it doesn't mean that they can't be good friends. Still, they have so many things in common. Tonight, Matthew stayed in their house. At night when he went to the toilet, he looked at Theo's room. Isabelle and Theo were totally naked on the bed. Theo found it very strange and went to bed. In the morning, Isabelle rubbed Matthew's eyelids and woke him up. Matthew asked her who woke someone up like this. She said, "I always wake Theo up like this." Matthew found it so strange. After that, Isabelle told him to get to the bathroom with her. While Matthew was brushing his teeth, Isabelle came there and touched his lips and said they're so beautiful. On the other side, Theo told Matthew that you live alone. If you want, you can stay here with us. We can be friends. Matthew asked him, "Don't you two have any problems with this?" Isabelle said, "Actually, it was my idea." Isabelle was present there, but still, Theo started talking. Theo and Isabelle think they are parts of themselves. When they were born, their bodies were connected to each other, and that's why they're not ashamed of each other. Matthew thought that they had a physical relationship, but no, they do not think of themselves as individual in their mind. Matthew agreed to stay with them and shifted all of his stuff here. One day when they were hanging out, they played a game. In this game, one will tell a dialogue from a movie, and the other will have to guess the name of the movie. If they cannot guess the movie, then they will have to complete a dare. In an old movie, the characters ran from the art museum and went outside, and they did it in such a short time. That's why they got the idea of doing this. Matthew was scared that if he got caught, then he would be sent back to America. But the twins convinced him, and he did it. They were happy with their strange lifestyle. Matthew feels a bit uncomfortable with the relationship between Theo and Isabelle. He doesn't understand what's going on between them. One day he asked Theo, "How do you two even stay like this?" Theo told him everything about how their bodies were connected when they were born, and how they think they're not individuals from each other. One day they were hanging out and played that game once again. This time, Theo did a scene of a movie, but Matthew and Isabelle couldn't recognize the scene, and that's why Theo dared them to have sex in front of him. Matthew got scared after hearing this, and said, "Please don't involve me in this." Isabelle took off her clothes in front of Matthew and Theo, but Matthew didn't want to do it. That's why he ran away from there, but Theo stopped him. Matthew and Isabelle had sex in front of Theo, and it was the first time Isabelle had sex. Theo saw this with his own eyes. After that, Matthew and Isabelle continued their relationship. One day while they were on the bed, Matthew asked her, "Why you and Theo are like this?" Isabelle said, "We have loved each other from our childhood." Matthew asked her, "What will you do if your father finds out?" She said she would kill herself. One day, Theo and Matthew were talking to each other. Matthew told him that you two are so close to each other, but still, you two made me your own family. Theo told Matthew that, "I like you, but I never think that you're a part of our family. You are our friend, but still, me and Isabelle were together, and always will be." Matthew found it very strange, but still he let it go. Isabelle and Theo live a very costly life. They drink so much expensive wine and do so many expensive acts. That's why they need so much money. Their father gave them some money, but now they had no money left. They had no money to eat their food. Now they work somewhere and live their life. Theo was feeling jealous after seeing the relationship between Matthew and Isabelle. One day when they were in college, Theo talked to a girl, and now they were about to go on a date. One day all of them were in the bathroom, and they were showering together. Theo and Matthew were talking about American soldiers fighting in Vietnam, and Theo thinks this is not right. He blamed all the Americans for this. Matthew said, "No, this is not what you think. We are forced to do so. President orders us to go to war, and if someone doesn't go, then he will be sent to jail." That's why Matthew came here in Paris, to complete his study. The time period of this movie was from 1960. Matthew said that, "I don't believe in violence. If we want to evolve, we need to do it with peace." But Theo disagreed with him. Isabelle stopped them and asked Matthew, "Do you love us? And do you have any proof about it?" Matthew asked her, "What kind of proof do you want?" Isabelle told him that me and Theo want to shave your pubes. Matthew got so mad at them and told them whatever you two are doing is wrong. You guys always act like kids. You guys need to grow up. He told Isabelle that you don't know anything. You have never had a boyfriend, and that's why you never went on a date. You do whatever Theo tells you to do. Matthew took Isabelle on a proper date. When they came back home, they saw that Theo was with a girl. Isabelle heard the sound of them having sex. She felt disturbed after hearing this, and felt so jealous. Isabelle cried so much. In the next scene, we saw that Theo and Matthew were drinking wine. Paris was revolting. Theo was talking about it. Matthew told him that, "I don't believe what you say. You just talk about politics, but you never go to the street. Nothing will happen if you just keep talking. If you want actual changes, then you will have to go to the streets and protest." After some time, Isabelle came there and took to the hall room. When Isabelle and Theo were kids, they were used to making tents, and then they would sleep there. She took them to the tent and fell asleep there. In the morning, we saw that their parents came back. They found the three of them inside the tent. They had assumed what they were doing inside the tent. Their father felt so upset about it, and he didn't wake anyone up. He signed the check and then left. Isabelle woke up so late in the morning and found the check. She realized that her mom and dad had come there, and from now on, they can never talk to their face ever again. She felt so guilty about it. She went to the kitchen and decided to light the whole house on fire with the gas pipe. She opened the gas pipe, but down in the streets, people were protesting, and a stone got inside the kitchen by breaking the window. Matthew and Theo also woke up and joined the protest. The police were standing in front of them, and they were trying to stop the protesters. Theo decided that if he wants to break the barrier, then he must choose violence. They went ahead and threw rocks at the police. Matthew tried to stop him, but he could not. Isabelle also went ahead with Theo. Matthew cannot take part in this protest since he was an outsider. That's why he ran away from the protest. The police also charged them, and all of them ran away. The movie ended here, but we need to talk about the ending. The revolution we saw in this movie represents the conflict between the characters of this movie. Theo and Isabelle are twin brother and sister. When they were born, their bodies were connected to each other. They always had an attachment with each other. They never thought that they were apart from each other. Isabelle had to date someone one day, and that's why she was dating Matthew. And because of that, Theo felt jealous, because a part of him was with someone else. He felt it was very wrong. Isabelle also felt the same thing. Isabelle thought that she loved Theo so much, and this is so wrong. But she had a conflict in her mind, that if her parents found out, then she would kill herself. She always kept it in her mind. A stone hit her window, and the stone saved their lives. The revolution was actually the state of their mind. The society will never accept Theo and Isabelle to stay together. Matthew always reminded them of this. Once again, I want to make clear that Theo and Isabelle didn't have kinds of incest relationship. They just thought of themselves as individuals, and that's why they wanted to stay together. To watch more explanations of these kinds of movies, click on the videos on your screen. And don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. And at last, I will say, stay safe, stay well, thanks.